Troop 108 BSA, Fort Mill, South Carolina presents The Canoe and You, an informative and instructional video. The first procedure is to take a canoe off of the canoe trailer. First, untie the canoe, bring the canoe that you're removing completely away from the trailer and the other canoes, and then gently turn the canoe over and place it on the ground. Now let's review the parts of the canoe. First, there's the thwart. The thwart runs completely from the port to the starboard sides. This gives support. Also considered a thwart, but we usually call it a seat. First, there's the bow seat. Also, there is a stern seat. Also on a canoe, there are two decks. A deck is the flat part on each end of the canoe. This is the stern deck. And this is the bow deck. The rope on each end of the canoe is called a painter. In this case, it's also the same rope used to latch the canoe to the canoe trailer. The rim of the canoe running on each side from stern to bow is called the gunwale. Anytime you go out in a canoe, it is required that you wear a flotation device. This flotation device must be of an approved type. Now let's review the parts of the paddle. First, at the top of the paddle is the grip. Below the grip, the long, round part of the paddle is called the loom. Below the loom, we have the throat. This is the part that connects the long, flat part to the loom. The long, flat part that we just mentioned is called the blade. The bottommost part of the blade is called the tip. When two men are attempting to launch a canoe, it is necessary that each of them take a side and launch the canoe hand over hand into the water. At that point, the sternman boards the canoe, while the bowman braces the canoe between his legs. It is necessary when boarding a canoe that you keep your body low and never release your grip on the gunwale. When the sternman has reached his position in the rear of the canoe, he should pick up his paddle and brace the paddle in the water for the bowman to launch the canoe. Now, the bowman is not only responsible for getting in the canoe, again, he is responsible for getting the canoe afloat. That is the proper procedure for launching a canoe with two men. What is the procedure for docking a canoe with two men? Exactly what you just saw in reverse, as you shall see. First, you bring the canoe to shore. At that point, the paddles are stored. Then the bowman gets out of the canoe, turns around, and braces the canoe between his legs to allow for the exit of the sternman. Again, the sternman keeps his body low while never releasing his grip on the gunwales. The proper procedure for bringing a canoe out of the water is hand over hand out of the water, and then each man takes a side and carries the canoe out of the beach. The proper procedure for a single scout bringing a canoe into the water is to carry the canoe with the main thwart over his shoulders. Then the canoe is lifted over and put on the beach. It is necessary to make sure that all painters are put in the canoe before launching. The paddle is stowed, and we are ready to launch. It is necessary to make a point at this time that when paddling alone, and you are a relatively large-sized gentleman, it is necessary to sit in the bow of the canoe facing the stern. This allows you greater ability to navigate, and it balances your weight better in the canoe. Again, the single scout is responsible for launching himself. The docking procedure for a single scout is basically the same, only reverse. The paddle is stowed and the scout gets out, keeping low and his hand on the gunwale. At that time, the canoe is brought ashore. As you can see, two scouts can work together so that neither scout gets tired. And if the scouts work to equalize their stroking power, they can very easily go in a straight line. It is not necessary to take big, deep, quick strokes. Actually, the more effective strokes are the long, powerful strokes. This is a backward stroke. It causes the canoe to go in reverse. This stroke is necessary sometimes if you hit a branch or some obstacle in the water. Now these two gentlemen are showing you how to pivot the canoe. As you can see, the bowman is paddling forward, the sternman backward. Now they'll go in the opposite direction with the sternman paddling forward and the bowman paddling backward. This maneuver can be especially helpful when trying to maneuver around a tight spot in a river or creek. This is called the draw stroke. It allows you to move in on a dock or a pier or even the beach at a parallel rate. This is called the pry stroke. And this is called the brace. This is called sculling. Basically, you are moving the paddle in a figure-8 motion. If both canoeists are doing this at the proper rate, the canoe will basically stay still.